how you can increase your efficiency through automation. My name is Jaco Roux. I'm the head of product for Bob Group. I built my first search engine back in 1998. Been involved with the e-commerce industry since 2001, and me and Andy Higgins founded uAfrica together and been involved in shipping and fulfillment services ever since. So to dive right in, why do we automate? The first reason I would say is to speed things up. There's a lot of repetitive processes that we deal with on a daily basis, and there's things where we can decide to automate and things can happen automatically. It also allows our businesses to scale because things are happening in the background and automatically when certain triggers are met. It reduces human errors and it reduces human cost because there's computers that does the things for us. And it allows us as business owners to focus on our objectives. Our main objective should be to grow our business, to scale our businesses, and to probably add more services. And without scale or without automation, it's very, very hard to do this. There's also various reasons why we should not automate. Mainly, if you don't understand the process, if you don't know the exact process from the start to finish. When things are automated, it happens quicker, and the mess also happens quicker. So you need to understand the process very, very in detail. It does take time to set up the process and to understand the process, so you need to weigh that up as well, and that joins with the pros versus the cons. You need to know that the time that you will spend to set up the automation outweighs the time and the cost of setting that up. Mistakes is a big part of this. If you make a mistake with automation, it can go horribly wrong, and it can go horribly wrong fairly quickly. So be sure that you understand the process. My area of expertise lies mostly in e-commerce, specifically in fulfillment and shipping. But I want to give you a few examples of what processes on an online store can be automated and has already been automated by the platforms that we use on a daily basis. Something as simple as order notifications is often overlooked. It is when an order is placed, what needs to happen, and mostly it's an email, but there's a lot of other automation processes where you can be notified in various ways, and I'll give you an example a bit later as well. Upselling based on categorization of products, profiles of users, machine learning, it's an automated process to upsell to your users. Inventory levels, it ties in with warehousing as well. You can set up levels where you should be either notified or automatic orders can be placed and purchase orders can be placed with your suppliers, where that can be as simple as a simple email going out to your suppliers saying, please, can I have the following orders? Also, when it arrives at the warehouse, to be automatically booked in, automatically be received. Then marketing, I know, is a big creative process, but after the marketing material is ready, you can schedule all your posts to be posted automatically to your various platforms where you want to send it to. Multi-channel is something we've been involved in for quite some time as well, where when things change on one channel, you can automatically push it to another channel, and inventory can be managed automatically as well. Shipping rates at checkout, also a service that we as uAfrica provide, but it is to get the most accurate rate for the buyer when at checkout, when you provide them with the shipping rates. Fulfillment and shipping, I'll dive a bit deeper into that, but also a process that we've been involved with in automation processes, and as well tracking updates to your buyers when there's movement on your packages. I want to take you through an example of Zapier. I don't know if there's anybody in the audience that have used it before, but they are based on triggers and action that you can set up to automate certain processes of your business. I've done a search on Zapier for their e-commerce apps that they support, and Shopify, WooCommerce, and Equid, very, very popular in South Africa, came up, and that is where they support triggers and actions to and from those platforms. In this case, they came up with a few recommendations. So when a new order is placed, they can push it to Google Sheets. They can add a new order or the customer to MailChimp. And one that I want to dive in a bit deeper in is they can post a new WooCommerce order to a Slack message. Slack is a piece of software that we use internally to manage all our communication, and it is very, very popular, and it is a quicker way to get notifications when an order is placed. So in this case, the trigger that I've selected is when an order is created or updated or deleted in your WooCommerce store, and as soon as that happens, a webhook is then sent to Slack, and you will get a notification in a Slack channel of your choice to notify you that the order was placed. Slack is a lot quicker than email, and you don't need to keep your email open and to be able to filter through what is orders, what is updates, and this is just a very quick way to get notified of that. So this is a list of triggers and actions supported by WooCommerce. I think there's more, but this is just the list that they came up with. And you'll see on the bottom left of every block, there's either a trigger or an action. A trigger is when something happens, it needs to do an action, and it's usually not from WooCommerce to WooCommerce, but from WooCommerce to another platform, or from another platform to WooCommerce. So a trigger in this case is a trigger is when a customer is created, or when an order is created, or when a product is created, or a line item of an order does something. It can post to any other application that they support. And the same with actions. You can set up, like if a subscription was added to MailChimp, it can create a customer already on WooCommerce, or if I add a order on a sheet in Google, it can create an order on WooCommerce. Very, very powerful, and I challenge everybody to take a look at this piece of software. It's really, really powerful. No programming experience needed, and it's just drag and drop to set up everything that you need. So let's dive into order fulfillment and shipping. So when I started 10 years ago, this was about the state of e-commerce fulfillment in South Africa. I think we've made some good strides forward in automating processes. So I found this ad very, very interesting. It's from the Civil War era in the United States, and it reads: St. Joseph, Missouri to California in 10 days or less. Wanted young, skinny, wiry fellows not over 18, must be expert riders, willing to risk death daily, orphans preferred, wages $25 per week. So that's about 3,200 kilometers in 10 days or less. I think is quite impressive. Would like to think that we've done slightly better in the modern ages. Problems that we wanted to solve when we created uAfrica 10 years ago, we noticed that merchants would create the online store. It would be nice, it would be shiny, the marketing would be amazing, the buyers would come, they would place the order, and then they needed a way to ship these orders to a customer. To open a courier account is quite a tedious process. You have to go through credit checks, a lot of forms need to be filled in. You don't really have any negotiation power because you don't know what the volumes is you're going to do. Quite a process. Also, tracking updates to your customers was a mission. You have to go through all your shipments at the time, track them online, and notify your buyers manually by sending them an email. Whenever they got orders, they had to manually write out labels. So you got a pack of pre-printed labels. You had to write out your buyer's details, their address. Most of the times you had to write out your collection address as well, although at some point they started printing that on your labels as well. But that was prone to errors. And there was no way to see what this label would actually cost you. Even if you measured it very accurately, it's very difficult to work through the very complex rate cards and understand what this package will cost you based on the route, based on the service level that you selected. Also, the labels was the courier's label, so there was no place for you to put branding on your labels or even on your tracking pages. So we wanted to solve that as well. Bad addresses coming in from e-commerce platforms, there was no way to validate those. There was no way to see whether they actually plot on a map. We wanted to solve that as well. And all of this caused people to not be able to scale because there were so many manual processes. You had to do real volumes because before you were able to actually employ more people to scale the business, and it wasn't really cost effective to do this. We faced some challenges when we built the software initially, and the biggest one for me was definitely the postal code and suburb combination between the different courier companies. I never expected to have such a vastly different list between the couriers in South Africa, where postal code suburbs are spelled differently, and the combination of it is so vastly different. We're one of the only countries in the world where postal code and suburb combination can mean so much. To give you an example, Sandton and Alexandra has the same postal code, and the rate to ship to both of them is vastly different. Courier infrastructure was also a challenge to us. As we scaled and got more orders, we had to pace our requests to the courier companies not to bring them down during our busy times. So there was software that we had to add to make sure that we can actually paste these requests. Weighable requirements was also something bigger than I expected, where courier companies had an idea of what information had to be on their weighbles, and to design your own weighble and submit that to the courier companies was quite a challenge as well, but I think we got that right. Final charges remains a challenge to this day, where me as a merchant would say my box is 10 by 10 by 10 centimeters, it weighs 1 kilogram, and then it goes through a scanner and it says, well, it's actually 12 by 12 by 12 and it weighed 2 kilograms, and then those charges needs to be adjusted, and it's quite a difficult process to manage, but we believe that with the data that we provide, it can go both ways. If it's actually 9 by 9 by 9 centimeters and it was 500 grams, we do adjust the rates downwards as well, but it remains a challenge and an educational process to explain this to all our new merchants of how exactly that works. Bad addresses to courier companies was also quite a challenge. If they didn't understand the suburb and if it didn't match their suburb list exactly, we had to do a lot of fuzzy logic to make sure that they understand that and to clean up these addresses before we submit them to the courier companies. Tracking updates is an interesting one because there was no way for the courier companies to notify us when tracking updates occurred. So if it went from in transit to out for delivery, we had to make a call to them every half an hour to say, did the status change? Did the status change? And then when the status changed, we would actually update the customer, but that means that we could miss it by half an hour or by 29 minutes. Luckily, that's something that went forward quite a bit and improved over time, where they can now automatically notify us, and within seconds we can notify the buyer that there was a tracking change on their parcel. What part of order fulfillment could we automate? So order importing is, I suppose, the beginning of the whole cycle of a new order. As soon as an order is placed on a platform, we get notified by the platform, be it WooCommerce or Shopify, and we can then import the order and generate packing slips for you to hand out to your packers. We could auto-complete weighbles at that time, filling in the delivery address, but if you edit it, we can regenerate it afterwards. We could pre-fetch rates for all your orders that came in, so it makes for easier and quicker fulfillment. We could do address validation and geocoding as soon as the order comes in to tell you the state and the quality of your address. We don't allow shipments if it can't be geocoded. We can send automatic tracking updates to your buyers. As soon as a tracking event happens, we can fire off an email, and that opens it up for future for WhatsApp or for Facebook Messenger or various other platforms as well. Manifest is something we created for bulk collections. If you did 100 shipments on a day, it generates one document that the driver can then sign and can say that I've collected this, and this is then your proof of collection, and it speeds up the process quite a lot. We could also then notify the courier companies when a parcel is ready for collection based on the times and rules that you have set. I want to run through this fairly quickly, but just to tell you what part of the processes are automated and what is manual. So when a buyer places an order, the shopping platform will notify us that the order was placed. We will import the order. We geocode the delivery address. If it geocodes, we will fetch rates from the available couriers. We pre-select the best rates based on your configuration rules. We pre-select your default packaging. By the time you see the order, a rate should already be available. The merchant can now print the packing slip, should it be required, and the merchant can review the selected rates and with a single click download the weighble. The courier is notified that the shipment is ready. Buyer is notified that the shipment has been booked, and whenever there's a tracking status change, the buyer or the merchant can get notified of that. The merchant then has a single view of all shipments that has not been delivered and that needs to be monitored. So through all these processes, there was only two manual processes, and that's one from the buyer placing the order and one from the merchant making sure that the rate that was pre-selected is the correct rate indeed. I want to take you through a case study of one of our customers in the early days where they were not able to scale sufficiently, and we had to change some of the processes to be able to meet their demand. So every morning they would print 300 packing slips. They would divide them between their packers. It was 5 at the time. When they are done, and they've packed all the boxes, they would stick every packing slip on top of the box and hand it back to 3 shippers to fulfill these orders. They would take the packing slip, they would go to our order listing, search for the order number, and once it's opened, they would review the details and print the label. The problem is that this merchant received about 500 orders a day, and they were just falling further and further behind, which was a real problem for them. How we fixed this is we added a barcode to the packing slip and interpreted that barcode that as soon as it's scanned, it would navigate you to the open order, and it would remove the step where the shipper had to search for the specific order number. This improved the efficiency by 100%, and it reduced quite a lot of errors because they didn't have to type in the number from the packing slip next to them, and it would navigate to the correct order. If they navigated to the wrong order, they would ship the wrong order to the wrong customer, which caused them some headaches as well. They were instantly able to ship, I think, just over 600 shipments a day then, but that created some new challenges for us, which we had to solve. Their next bottleneck was their printers. They had to print 4 copies on an A5 size label, so it was 2 A4 pages, and that's about 1,200 pages a day. It took a lot of time, took a lot of paper, and it drove up cost and efficiency downwards. We recommended and installed a label printer, a Zebra printer, on their premises, and this reduced the pages and time that's needed by about 4 times. We also connected the printer to our website, and every time a shipment was submitted, the label would automatically print next to them. So they had one scan and then accepting the rate, and then the label would print and they would stick it up. That created some more challenges for them as they scaled even further, and this is that the courier drivers complained that they had to sign 600 plus labels every single day. And that's when we introduced the manifest that I spoke about earlier, where we would create a single document and they would just tick off what boxes have been collected, and that would then be the proof of delivery or the proof of collection for them as well. This saved every courier about 30 minutes a day when they collected their orders. Things that you need to remember when you start your automation process is you have to do the tedious work yourself. You have to understand every step of the process. You need to go through it step by step and make sure that every step needs to be automated, and make sure that you understand what is the exceptions that can happen, what is the things that you are not thinking of, and where do you go with that. And that's why you need full visibility of this whole process, especially in the beginning when you start out with this. Even if you think that you don't need to write something, you need to write it somewhere to be able to be notified when this happens. Also, generate some reports so that you can see what steps have been taken and how it has been taken. Platforms change over time, the triggers change, the actions might change, so tweak and review these often. Go through them, make sure that they are still doing and are doing what they are intended to be doing. And only automate what needs to be automated. Some things should not be automated. There's definitely cases to be made where human intervention is needed, and only automate what needs to be automated. Looking at the future, our wish list is long, but we have a few that we want to hopefully push out very, very soon. One is rule-based fulfillments. When an order is placed and certain rules are met, that a shipment is automatically created. It's usually for pre-packed products that are ready to ship and doesn't really need human intervention. You just want the cheapest option and ship with that. So as soon as the order comes in, the label will print and you can just stick it on the box. Paperless shipments and returns, especially with returns where the buyer might not have a printer, and not being able to print a label is quite a problem for us. Really looking to get that going pretty soon. Rule-based returns, where you put returns back into the power of the buyer, where they can select what products they want to return. That kicks off a process where the merchant can then say, well, I'm willing to have this return, and that kicks off the process automatically to print the label. Fallback to lockers. Failed deliveries is definitely something that's driving up costs. When somebody rocks up at your door and you're not there and they have to come back later, that definitely eats into the margins of the courier companies, and that drives up costs for everybody. We would like to implement a system where it can maybe fall back to the closest locker to your house. You get a notification and say that this has been rerouted to a locker. Please go and collect it there. Locker-based returns is also something that we want to be working on pretty soon, and that is where if you book a return, you take it to your closest locker, and as soon as you close the door, the booking is already submitted and you don't need a waybill at all. I suppose there's a lot of other stuff that we can be adding in the future, but this is the ones that we are working on right now, so watch this space. And without further ado, that is me. You can reach me afterwards if you have any questions. You're more than welcome, or you can email us at support@uAfrica.com, and hopefully chat to you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.